Hello, it is episode 232, my sixth interview with Brian Cates, back-to-back interviews. Today we're talking all about COVID, and it seems to me that the world is on a precipice. We're seeing tremendous pushback on the vaccine mandates, and even on the vaccines themselves, and on forced mask wearing. All this stuff that's going on, there's tremendous pushback all over the planet. And at the same time, the governments and pharmaceutical companies seem to be ramping up the pressure for everyone to get these vaccines. So Brian and I today, we're talking about what's going to happen, starting with the United States, because that's usually a harbinger of what's to come on the rest of the planet. And the legal system and the constitutional framework is different. It's unique in the United States. And we're seeing some real progress on some of these anti-vaccine, anti-mandate lawsuits that are happening with OSHA, with the CDC, and so on. At the end of this interview, we talk a little bit about China and Taiwan and the situation there. But this episode is all about COVID. So let's welcome Brian to the show again right after this. So good morning, Brian. It's good to see you. So we recorded the last one. We were talking all about the Durham investigation. And since we recorded it, he's made his third indictment, guy named Danchenko. So we're going to publish the first conversation we had today. But since then, Danchenko has been arrested. So tell us the story. What happened? Who is Igor Danchenko?
Good to see you again, Luke. Igor Danchenko is a Russian national who lives in the United States. And he was an employee. He was working for Christopher Steele. Now, Christopher Steele didn't hire him at Fusion GPS. He hired Danchenko through his UK business. It's called Orbis Business Intelligence. And Danchenko was one of these guys that rattles around D.C. hiring his services out. He got connections in Russia. He grew up in Russia. He came over about in the late 1990s as part of the Open World program. And he got an extensive education, Georgetown University, and got degrees over here. So he's established in both worlds, the U.S. and Moscow. So he's one of these guys that has expertise in Russian affairs, and there's rattles around D.C. contracting himself out to people. And so one of the people that hired him back in 2016 was Christopher Steele. Hired him to use a network of friends that he had to assemble information about presidential candidate Donald Trump's supposed ties to Russia and any evidence of Trump being compromised by Russia or being a Russian agent. Mm-hmm. So Danchenko compiled a series of reports from his stories he got from his contacts, and he put them in what he called the company reports in this indictment that was unsealed yesterday. And he delivers these reports to Christopher Steele. He then passes them on to Fusion GPS. And some of these allegations that came from Danchenko, they ended up in the Steele dossier. Mm-hmm. And so when he's arrested yesterday, okay, so what happened is Durham has arrested the guy who was called the primary subsource, the primary guy that still got most of his Trump-Russia collusion allegations from. That person was arrested. for making what they said 5 specific false statements to federal officials in interviews.
Yeah. So this indictment, like the last one, is interesting because it implies that there's a lot more involved than just Igor Danchenko. So tell us some of the insights we get from reading this indictment. Who else is involved in this conspiracy?
Oh, there was a hell of a revelation in the indictment yesterday. It's been assumed that almost all of the sources Danchenko was using to compile the company reports he was passing on to Christopher Steele. That these were all Russian people. These were all people, Russians that lived in the U.S. or they live in Russia. Well, this indictment yesterday has a bombshell revelation about somebody who was designated PR Executive 1, Public Relations Executive 1. This person moved heavily in Democratic circles. I have a copy of their indictment right here. The resume of this person is astounding. I want to read a section of it to you. Where he goes over PR Executive 1's resume. This guy is connected to the Clintons, connected to Hillary Clinton, and I believe I'm trying to find the right page here. Give me a second. Okay, it's on page 5 of the indictment. At all times relevant to this indictment, PR Executive 1 was a Virginia-based public relations professional employed by a Washington, D.C.-based public relations firm, PR Firm 1. And or about February 2016, think tank employee 1, that's Fiona Hill of the Brookings Institute, the aforementioned individual who introduced Danchenko to Christopher Steele in 2010 introduced Danchenko to PR Executive 1 in connection with potential business opportunities. Okay, and then page 6 is where they give you this guy's resume, and they say, listen to this resume. In addition to his work as a public relations professional, PR Executive 1 had served as chairman of a national Democratic political organization, also state chairman of former President Clinton's 1992 and 1996 presidential campaigns, and as an advisor to Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Moreover, beginning in or about 1997, President Clinton appointed PR Executive 1 to 2 4-year terms on an advisory committee to the U.S. State Department. So,
wow,
this is not some nobody.
Right. Do we know who it is? I think you were having an argument with some of your friends.
I have friends that are arguing about this right now. Okay.
Yeah. So who do you think PR Executive 1 is?
Well, before I do that, I need to tell you what happened to get Danchenko hit with a federal felony in relation to PR Executive 1. Danchenko told the feds when they asked him, did you speak to this individual about any of the allegations that were in the company reports that you sent to Christopher Steele? He said, no, I did not. Okay, and that was a lie because it turns out that he got several of the allegations that were placed in the company reports that ended up in the Steele dossier. He got several of the allegations from PR Executive 1. Okay, who was an American, who was heavily tied to the Clintons, who was not Russian, who's not, he may hang out in Russia a lot, but he's not Russian, okay? Now, my friends right now are arguing over whether this is Chuck Dolan, or whether it's Adam Waldman. Chuck Dolan does have the resume that I just outlined to you in the indictment. I have a friend, Tracy Beans, and several others that are now wondering if this could be Adam Waldman instead. because Adam Waldman is Mark Warner's lawyer, the guy who sits in the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Right.
So there's right now in the Spygate community, there's a little some dispute about who this is, but for it being Dolan's own lawyer has come out and said, yeah, it's him. He came out. Let's see, let me find that statement. It was released yesterday. Dolan's lawyer came out and said, get the exact quote here. Chuck understands and appreciates your interest, a reporter emailed him. I can confirm that he is PR Executive 1 in the indictment, as he is a witness in an ongoing case. It would not be appropriate for Chuck to comment further on allegations in the indictment at this time.
Wow.
So we will have no further yada yada. Okay, that's Ralph Dewey Martin, counsel to Chuck Dolan. So despite the fact the guy, Dolan's own lawyer, has said, yes, that's my guy. Some people right now in the Spygate community, the researchers are arguing about that, but it does look like it's Chuck Dolan to me.
Okay.
And so for the 5 years I've been investigating Spygate, somehow this never came out. This never, that Danchenko is passing on Trump-Russia collusion allegations from a key Clinton source, somebody who's heavily tied to the Clintons, very close to the Clintons. And so the symmetry of this is just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was obviously very organized and coordinated. So I'm guessing you're more optimistic now that this is going to lead to bigger names, more household names, based on this indictment.
Well, you don't indict Sussman unless you point and right at Mark Elias. Mm-hmm. You don't indict Igor Danchenko unless you point and right at Christopher Steele. Mm-hmm. So I think that the indictments, and especially in this, the Sussman indictment was 27 pages. It could have been a page and a half. It could have been 2 pages long. All he had to do was say, here's the false statement the person made to this federal official, and here's what a truthful statement would have looked like. And do that in a page and a half. Therefore, we charge him with violating statute, yada, 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 and everything. The 27 pages, he walked people, Durham walked people through a criminal conspiracy. And he's doing the same thing in this Danchenko indictment. How many pages it is? The Danchenko indictment is 39 pages long. So once again, you don't get just a page and a half or 2 pages of a brief statement. They walk you extensively through all 5 false statements that he made. They show you who he made the statements for false statements to, what the false statements were, with the materiality of the false statements, why it matters. And they keep repeating the same thing over and over again. He wasn't honest about his choices. And there's also a section in there where he claims he talked to somebody. He did not, in fact, talk to. He claims he got some allegations from somebody who they verified. He never contacted Danchenko, never talked to him, never met with him. So that was something else that Danchenko lied about. He lied to the FBI. Said, and the person's name is Sergey Millian. He claims he had a long phone call conversation with Sergey Millian that he did not, in fact, have. And that Millian gave him some of these allegations that appear on the dossier. And Millian, of course, has always denied this. He said, I don't know this guy, never met him, he's making it all up. And then the indictment comes out, pretty much it vindicates what Sergey Millian has been saying for over 4 years. Mm-hmm. And Danchenko, naming him as a source, is a lie. And so that's something else that Danchenko has been caught in. So that's a material fact. He lied to federal officials. He claimed he got. So wherever he got some of these allegations from, he was hiding. He was hiding who he was getting them from. He named Sergey Millian when he never talked to Sergey Millian, says he got some of the allegations from Millian. Then he said he did not get anything from Chuck Dolan, when in fact they can prove that he did. He did get some of the allegations from Chuck Dolan. So he's either lying about who his source is, and saying, I got it from this guy on the phone, Well, he's telling them a lie to cover up who his real source is. It's Dolan, but he doesn't want to admit that. He doesn't want to admit, yeah, the closer he gave me these allegations, it's very closely tied to Hillary Clinton.
Right.
He did not want to admit that.
Mm-hmm. So that's the point. The reason he would lie about something like that is because he's trying to throw investigators off the track that they're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to go back to something you've said many, many times, and I know people have disputed bitterly with you about this. Rod Rosenstein signed, I think, the third and fourth FISA warrant applications. Why would he do that if he knew that the whole Russia thing was fake?
Why Rod Rosenstein would renew the FISA warrant on Cardi Page? Yeah, okay. He renewed it. It was renewed twice under Rosenstein. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, you got to understand that, according to my theory, Rosenstein is laying a trap for all these people. He comes in, mm-hmm. he doesn't even get there till late April. I believe the day he's sworn in as Deputy Attorney General is April 29, 2017. He gets there just before James Comey gets fired. I believe it's about a week before James Comey gets fired. Mm-hmm. He was not there for any of the stuff that was going on in 2016. He was over there being the U.S. Attorney for Maryland. Mm-hmm. No, he's not there. He's dropped into the middle of this. Okay, yeah, but that's a legitimate question. He's asked this by Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan when he testified in front of Congress. Right. They said, well, we now know this warrant was fraudulent. Was it based on anything real? They had not even verified any of it. They apparently had not even interviewed Danchenko before they got the warrant granted. They did not attempt to interview Danchenko until January 2017 when the warrant was supposed to renew. And then he came in April, late April, and it's renewed. I believe it's then January, and then it's renewed twice more on Rosenstein's watch. And so Rosenstein, if I recall his testimony, said he sits down with the legal people. They brief him on the warrant. They show him what's in the warrant. Okay, and he says the inspector general looking into this. I don't think I did anything wrong. If I did, then he'll say so. And so my thing is, when you understand the way things have gone over the past 5 years, and we now know that the Mueller Special Counsel was in fact being set up to be investigated, and that there's secret grand juries that were meeting that were spying on some of the most powerful members of Congress that sit on intelligence committees. Okay. My theory would be if Rosenstein realized coming in late after the process was already underway, wow, this FISA warrant is 100% bogus. And instead of shutting it down, they decided to let it go on. Okay, I guess to gather more evidence could be. Yeah, that would be my speculation. But you have to understand, he's dropping into the middle of this, and the people have already signed off on it. Comey already signed off on it. All these other guys that signed off on it. He's brought in the middle of the process, and so they sit him down. They say, "Here's a warrant that's already been, it was granted last October 26th by the FISA court. It was renewed in January, and we want to renew it again. So here's the paperwork, And he's sitting there. He's being briefed on this by people who were already involved, and getting it, approved the first time and renewed the first time. So it could be they hoodwinked him. Could be they just bullshitted him. Okay. Could be we don't really have a clear picture of what happened. So it's just speculation. But there's several ways this could have gone. They could have simply bullshitted him and not shown him anything. Told him, well, we've all looked at this. We've approved it. You should just go ahead and sign this. Yeah. That's what he said. He knew it wasn't a real warrant, and he just decided to let it keep going.
Yeah, that's what he said happened. If I recall his testimony, he said he was briefed. They told him to sign. They told him he should sign it. And it was an ongoing thing that had been approved several times before he got there. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
And if you're like the manager and people are bringing you their finished work, okay, mm-hmm. People, I talked about this at the time. People have this idea that the Rosenstein spends his whole day retrying the whole case, going through all the evidence himself, and coming up with his own appraisal of it. That's not what you do when you're Deputy mm-hmm. Attorney General, and you have an hour meeting with these guys to reapprove a FISA warrant. He's not going through the whole case file and re-verifying everything himself. That's not how it works. The people seem to have this weird idea. There's the supervisor, he's getting into the nuts and bolts, and he's going to sit down there and spending hours and hours and hours rechecking everything, okay? You're in a position where you're taking their word for it.
Right.
So that could be what happened here.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about COVID and all the mandates. So we see this as a worldwide situation. For some reason, some governments and pharmaceutical companies are pushing so hard for these vaccines. Now they're shifting to kids, which I think is starting to outrage a lot of people that were kind of on the fence about these vaccines coming after the kids. So the United States is such a unique case because we have states that are in totally different mode compared to other states. And the system of government works very differently than most countries. And that's, in a way, it's very encouraging because we see what's happening in Florida and Texas and other places, and we can see that people have the power to push back. But in places like San Francisco, they're saying 5 to 11-year-olds are now going to have a vaccine passport. So how do you see this going? Tell us what's the latest in the United States on this situation.
I see these vax mandates going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere. They're not constitutional. They're not legal.
Right.
And if they ever try to implement any of this and coerce anybody into doing it, they're going to be challenged in court. And the courts are going to strike it down. And, when you mention Florida and Texas, one reason they hate Ron DeSantis, they spent all last year saying DeSantis because he was not doing it right, He was going to turn Florida. You know how many elderly people live in Florida, all the retirees that are down there, people that are, 70 plus. Mm-hmm. In that state. They spent a year saying DeSantis was going to turn Florida into a graveyard. And it has the lowest COVID of just about any state. They do not have a crisis. They did not do the mask mandates. They didn't follow hardly any of the protocols laid out by FAFSA. These are the people, and certainly they don't intend to implement any vaccine mandates in that state. They're very openly defying any attempt. As a matter of fact, when some school districts went ahead and imposed mask mandates after DeSantis said there would be no mask mandate in the state of Florida, for many school districts, Broward County and one other county went ahead and instituted a mandate anyway. And so DeSantis, I believe he withheld, it was something like $465,000 from the Broward County School District, and he withheld another significant sum from the second school district. And so now, like you said, we have the vaccine mandates coming in. Our public schools are going to start saying, your 5 to 11-year-old, and if your child is vaccinated, your child will not be able to attend public school this year. They're getting ready to say this in school districts, in some school districts across the country. And they do that. They try that in Texas and Florida and some of these other states that will not go well for them. But like you said, we live in a country where there are very different states, and they go at this in different ways. And there are some blue states that are going to do whatever they're told. Whatever Biden says, whatever Fauci says, doesn't matter how insane it is, doesn't matter about all the facts that are coming up, or how the vaccines don't really stop anything. Ireland, I just read a story about Ireland. Ireland has the highest vaccine rate of any country over there. The question now is, based on the statistics from the number of people that they're seeing getting sick, is not does the vaccine work, but is the vaccine actually hurting? To see the number of people that are getting ill over there.
Yeah.
So, but I don't see the vaccine mandate going anywhere. They're not constitutional. It's the moment OSHA tried to enforce any rule, they tried to try to get an employee to fire somebody. 26 states, I think, are already either filed lawsuits or they're getting ready to against these mandates. So I know there's a lot of people on the right, there's a lot of media outlets that want to gin up as much hysteria as they can, pretending like, they're going to take your kids away from you and vaccinate them. But I do not see that happening. I don't see this going anywhere. All they're going to do, going after the kids, is that there are a lot of people sitting on the fence. You can't say they're not paying attention, but just that they're not. They haven't been moved to action yet. They haven't been moved to publicly declare which side they're on yet. So when the local school district comes and says, you have to vaccinate your kids with this experimental vaccine, and it has all these illnesses and people being injured and sometimes, having strokes or blood clots and heart problems, and you're gonna have to vaccinate your kid, or we're gonna keep them out of school. Okay, that's when they're gonna. I think they're gonna find out a lot of people are not gonna put up with it.
Mm-hmm. How do you see it unfolding in a place like California?
No, we call election in California. They tried to get rid of Newsom. They cheated, of course. They steal it. Yeah. They're always still okay. But when it comes to people have a very negative view of a lot of people in blue states, like they're not trying. They're all brain dead zombies. They're all gonna. When I say people, there are some people that are gonna do what they're told. About 1/3 of the country, but it might be half of the state of California. There are a lot of liberals that live there, progressives, but there are a lot of people in California that are not going to comply. Maybe up to half the population. Half the population will do whatever it's told. The other half will not. And so when school districts say you have to vaccinate your child or they will not be allowed to attend school this year, you're going to see like half the students will just not show up.
Yeah. Why do you think they're doing this? Like more and more reports of side effects are coming out. There's no reason to vaccinate kids for COVID because they're the least likely to be hospitalized or die from COVID. So why would, at first I thought, well, they're trying to sell products, right? They're trying to sell vaccines.
Yeah.
But they're pushing this towards kids now, and it kind of doesn't make sense. Like, they have to know the backlash is coming. So do you have any theories why they're pushing this so hard?
There's a lot of speculations out there about what's happening. Some people call it the Great Reset. Other people call it a population control measure. Basically, they're going to kill a lot of people with this. There's a lot of, and some of it's just hysterical. I'd say just based on what I know from what I observed, money drives a lot of it, the quest for power, and the idea of creating a dependent population that needs, if you are in a situation where your immune system and your health has been compromised to the point that you need to have a booster just to be normal. If they got you, search for the right word. I want to use the word addicted, but you're in a state where you're dependent on a booster for social services, where they get you in a position where to function normally in society, you have to demonstrate that you are a good citizen, what they consider a good citizen. To prove that you've done what they told you to do. They told you to line up and get your fourth booster, your fifth booster. You can have a little card there, or whatever it is that they're going to come up with. They're going to prove that you had your fourth or your fifth booster. And I think money and power and control drive a lot of this. There's a lot of evil people behind this. They want control over everybody. They want to control how they live. And if you're in a situation where your health has been compromised and they think that you will need the state more than ever, because now you have heart problems, now you have inflammation problems, you have blood clotting problems you got from these vaccines, and they're going to sell you the cure. They're going to sell you the cure. So that's what they do.
Yeah. So what's the latest with the Biden administration, or regime, as Steve Bannon calls it? They've made some pretty big blunders. They've kind of screwed up on what they were trying to do and got themselves into a corner, I think, with these vaccine mandates and a few other things. Tell us about some of the blunders they've made, why it's going badly for them.
Well, the way our American system is set up, the executive branch, it's called the president is the leader of the country, it's the leader of the free world, okay? Mm-hmm. You have to have certain qualities to do that job well.
Right.
And people have had, ever since Biden effectively took control of the government beginning in February of this year, people have had about 10 months now to take the measure of this guy. And he has none of the qualities that a president needs to govern effectively. He doesn't have any of them. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming increasingly obvious, okay? Now, even if you turn aside from the fact they stole the election to put the guy in office, okay? Now he is in the office and he has to function in the office. It's becoming increasingly evident that he can't even function in this office. Mm-hmm. He has no leadership qualities. He has no innate ability. He does not have the character. He does not have the drive. He's elderly. He's frail. He does not have the energy. Also, does not have the energy. And coming right after the Trump presidency, where Trump was literally a human dynamo. Mm-hmm. We marked down a lot during Trump's term, how energetic he was, constantly traveling, constantly doing things. This guy disappears for most of the day. They bring him out like for an hour or two, and they very carefully have to control his public appearances. So we've never had a presidential administration collapse quite this quickly. Mm-hmm. The closest thing you can come to an abject failure like this would be like Jimmy Carter, and we've never seen this. Now, some people think that when Biden goes, whether they 25th Amendment him or whatever, Kamala Harris just can't wait to get in there, Kamala Harris can't wait to jump in there and seize the reins, and that's what they're planning all along, you see. There's a lot of speculation about this. They can't wait to get Kamala in there. Well, listen, I've studied Kamala Harris. If you think she wants this job with the state the country's going to be in, and all the crises the country is going to face by the time Joe goes a month from now, 4 months from now, 6 months from now, when things are even worse than they are now, she wants that job. That's like, wanting the job of the captain of the Titanic after it hit the iceberg. I mean, who wants that job? The ship's going down. So people need to rethink that Kamala Harris just can't wait to get in there and be handed that job. She won't even be able to do it any better than Biden does. And we're in a unique situation here. We may just have excuse me a second. May end up with a historically unprecedented situation where an administration just completely collapses. Mm-hmm. Nobody can do the job in it. Nobody wants the job. Nobody can do it. We might end up having an interim government or a special election. I definitely do not see Joe Biden reaching the end of his term 3 years from now. And I don't see Kamala Harris stepping in there. And if she does, she won't last more than a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of interesting. It's a worldwide phenomenon. So I've talked to friends in Australia New Zealand, Canada. And they're telling me, like, when Trump said the election was stolen in the United States, they thought, well, that's just Trump. You know, that's just something he says. But now they're telling me none of the Western leaders seem to have been elected. Like, you can't find anybody who actually voted for Trudeau or Macron or the whack jobs in Australia and New Zealand. Like, my friends are telling me, I don't know anybody who voted for these people. And it seems to be dawning on people that most of these elections, or a lot of these elections, are completely rigged. And people are installed into power. And Joe Biden, I think, just made it obvious for a lot of people.
It's harder to steal an election in America. We have a system where, you know, when they came out and stole it for Biden, Trump was so far ahead at that point, and 8 o'clock at night, he had such a big lead in so many states that they had to do some unprecedented stuff to pull that off. Okay, they had to stop the counting for 4 hours, and it was obviously coordinated. You don't really say that. It was coordinated. The 6 states stopped counting the vote simultaneously for 4 hours, and then you had the vote dumping began like 3 a.m. in the morning. You had the vote dump start happening. So Trump, see, in our system, if you're in a position where you have to make up that much, you can't really hide it. You can't really hide what's there. And that's why they're so desperate to avoid audits. They're so desperate to avoid any scrutiny. There's some weird things that happened in this New Jersey race the other day. You know, there's some strange things coming out of some of these counties at 3 a.m. in the morning to flip the race from Ciattarelli to Murphy, the incumbent. There's some weird things that happen there. And they're at a point where they're having to do it out in the open air, and everybody's watching. And everybody knows what's going on. So we have a system that, and there are people getting involved. You know, they tried to steal it in Virginia. They tried to steal it there. They weren't able to. Too many poll watchers, too many voters came out. They were simply overwhelmed. That's how we're going to beat them. And we're going to simply overwhelm their system. And so that was a positive development what happened in Virginia. And the fact is nobody expected New Jersey to be closed anyway. The fact that they had to go out of their way and engineer a theft from Murphy there is actually an encouraging sign, because that means that even in some deep blue states, enough people, and New Jersey's a deep blue state, people have had enough. And it's getting to the point where we're stressing their system. We're stressing it. The cracks are showing. You know. Trump won by so much. He did like 26 campaign rallies in the final days before the election. It was such a massive turnout that they were, like I wrote many times, they were forced to blatantly come out in the open and steal it. And this was after they spent 4 years. Zuckerberg spent $395 million. And they thought they had engineered the perfect theft. They sent all the money to the right counties and marked the license out there. They changed all the right laws. You know, they sandbagged enough of the state attorney generals to change the election laws by going around the state legislature. They had it all set up beautifully, and Trump wiped it out anyway. And they were forced to come out in the open and do 3 days of ballot stuffing so they could finally declare Biden the winner on Friday night.
So Rudy Giuliani has said that the problem is that Democrats have a stranglehold in cities like Detroit, Milwaukee, Atlanta, and Virginia. Republicans were able to overcome this, right? As you said, huge turnout, so many poll watchers. But New Jersey, it seems like they're going to get away with it again. So in 2024, can the system be broken in Detroit and Milwaukee and Atlanta? Or is it going to be a repeat?
It depends on what the voters do. People have to get involved. There's General Flynn and others have been talking about this for a while. Local action, national impact. You got to get started at the local level. There's a story of this guy that just took down the New Jersey Senate president, a Democrat that's been there for 20 years. A truck driver who didn't even campaign took that guy out, spent like a couple $1,000 on his campaign, and he beat this guy. His name is Durham. I think his name is Ed Durham. You can look that up. He's a truck driver. He beat a longtime Democratic incumbent, state Senate president. Okay, so people are getting involved, and that's how we're going to change it. Okay, now the thing about New Jersey is Trump endorsed Youngkin. He went in there and endorsed Youngkin. And they had the poll watchers there, and there was all kinds of activity by the grassroots in Virginia that you did not have in New Jersey. Senator Trudeau did not ask for Trump's endorsement. He did not want Trump to come campaign for him. He kept his distance. I think he may have said some nice things about Trump, but essentially he kept his distance from Trump. And so it's encouraging that it was closed. I wasn't expecting anything out of New Jersey. And then, of course, I was hoping that Trudeau would pull that off, take it away from Murphy. Murphy's a horrible governor. He's one of the 4 or 5 governors that sent COVID patients into the nursing homes. Killed thousands of elderly people in his state by doing that. And he doesn't deserve re-election. He deserves to go to jail for that. So there were things that happened in Virginia that did not happen in New Jersey. But we can take encouragement from the fact that what happened in Virginia is repeatable in these other states. We can learn what mistakes were made in New Jersey. For one thing, don't distance yourself from Trump. Right after the election, all these people started coming out. Ann Coulter, Meghan McCain. We can win without Trump. We can. They start trying to talk about distancing themselves from Trump. The GOP needs to win without Trump, and so I thought that's the GOP win. That's like Adam Kinzinger, who's leaving his seat in Illinois, Liz Cheney, who was no chance whatsoever of being reelected in Wyoming. This is the GOP establishment wing, trying to. They're scared, just like the Democrats are. They can see that, okay, they spent 5 years trying to turn Trump into a national pariah. They impeached him twice. They called him a Russian agent. They launched smear after smear against him. They claimed he sparked an insurrection where he tried to overthrow the government and stop the county of the electoral votes on January 6th. He should be radioactive by this point, okay? And they still can't quite believe that he's still coming. They can't believe it. And the base is still with him. The base still listens to him. And so some people are trying to take the wrong lessons away from what happened on Tuesday. They're trying to say we can win without Trump. We need to try distancing ourselves from Trump. And that's the exact opposite of what needs to happen. We get ready for 2022. We need people to study what happened in Virginia. And in fact, as Youngkin asked for Trump's endorsement, he sought it. He got it. The base got excited. The base got out. There were poll watchers on the ground. There were a lot of poll watchers. I don't think they had any of that kind of activity going on in New Jersey. So it's nice that people are so sick in New Jersey. They're so sick of Murphy. They're so sick of the Democratic politics that they made it close. They almost took him out and replaced him. But as we get ready for 2022, people need to keep that in mind. Study where it worked and figure out why it didn't happen in New Jersey and learn from that.
Yeah. Is that your feeling today, that that's how 2020 gets fixed, is just by having a sweeping landslide in 2022? Because the Arizona audit seems to prove that the state was stolen. But Governor Ducey, because I'm just saying, Governor Ducey and the mainstream media, they're all saying, well, the audit's done and Biden still won. Like, they're blatantly lying into the camera and nothing seems to be happening. Brnovich says he's going to look into it. But is Arizona going to get resolved before 2022?
Well, 2022 is 11 months away. 12 months away.
Mm-hmm.
Brnovich has only been investigating for what, a month? 5 weeks? Okay, criminal investigations take time. This is a criminal investigation. Okay, criminal evidence was handed down with people deliberately destroying election records. So a lot of people wish this would go a lot faster than it is. Okay, but I believe we're going to get more audits in the other states. I believe Brnovich will act. He has the evidence. We've seen in a redacted form some of the evidence that he had. So, but when you talk about fixing 2020, the people say fixing 2020, I always have to ask them, what do you mean by that? For some people, fixing 2020 means Trump back in the White House before 2022. It's not fixed until states decertify and Biden is made to leave the White House and all these electoral votes are given to Trump and Trump goes back in the White House. That's how you fix 2020. If that doesn't happen by 2022, then 2020 was not fixed. Okay, I reject that because there's very little chance. Okay, there's like almost infinitesimal chance that happens. Okay, you fix 2020 by exposing the fraud. You expose the theft. You expose it. Okay, it doesn't. It'd be nice to states go ahead and decertify their votes. If they can award that to Trump, great. Okay, but I don't see a process happening whereby they tell Joe Biden, okay, 6 states decertified, and you don't have the electoral votes anymore after over a year, and so you have to leave the White House now. We're going to put Trump back in there. Okay, I don't see that happening that way. So we're going to fix 2020. We're gonna keep going when Arizona acts. I believe Brnovich will act, and other states are gearing up to. Things are happening in Wisconsin. You know, things are happening in Michigan. There are things happening in Georgia. Okay, when the other states get their audits going, that's how we're gonna expose the fraud. That's how 2020 was stolen. At the same time, see, it's not an either or. We either have to totally focus on exposing the 2020 fraud, or get ready for 2022 and have our poll watchers in place and get the turnout that we need to overwhelm this system. Okay, patriots are multitaskers. They can do both. Do both. Okay, and I think we need to do both. We need to expose the 2020 theft and hold accountable those that can be those can be proven by evidence to engaged in criminal activity. I see that coming over the next 12 months. And then we need to get the poll watchers in place. We need to get the grassroots on the move, local involvement. And then we need to come out a massive turnout for 2022. And I think we can get it done.
Mm-hmm. Some people are calling for Republican governors to call a special session and audit their elections. Like a lot of people have said, DeSantis should do a full audit because some of those counties, like Broward County, and DeSantis says, you know, we've made enough reforms that we're in control of this situation. But could you see a scenario where Glenn Youngkin says he wants to call a special session and do an audit on the 2020 election in Virginia? Because, you know, it's obvious by the numbers that Joe winning by 10.5 points in Virginia is not real.
Yeah.
Right? That's inflated. And wouldn't it be interesting if Glenn Youngkin said, you know what, we need to take a look at 2020 in our state? Is it possible?
Yes, it is. There's value, even in states Trump won. Okay, there's still massive fraud that goes on in some of these counties. They're like, thanks to the work of Captain Seth Keshel,
Yeah.
He did a county by county breakdown of Texas. This guy's is doing incredible work. He's gone through all 50 states, broke it down county by county, the voting trends, and he can show you where all the fraud is taking place. There's like 13 counties in Texas where there's a massive amount of fraud. Some of them are in Travis, Harris. They're close to the big cities like Houston and Austin, and there's a massive amount of fraud going on. So you can take the tack that some people do in the GOP, like some people close to Abbott were saying, well, we're in control of it. We don't really worry about it. They're not going to flip the state blue. But how many local races are being lost? How many county commissioner seats? How many school board seats are being lost in these big cities in Texas because the local officials are cheating? They're allowing fraud. So yeah, maybe they won't flip the statewide races, but people, just because somebody lives in Harris County, the whole state's still red. Just because they live in Harris County, that does not mean that they should be cheated out of their vote and have a bunch of people that sit on the school boards or the county commissioner's court who don't deserve to be there because they cheated to put those people there. And that's why, like in Austin now, they have a homeless camp that's sprang up in there. There's some things going on in there that are really weird, okay, about the way Austin is just headed downhill. And it's hard to believe that a lot of people that are voters are actually voting for that. So there's a massive amount of fraud that's going on, and it needs to be fixed. Same thing in Florida. Yeah, okay, you can say, okay, well, Florida, Trump won Florida. We're in control here. We're on top of it. Okay, but if you let that fraud keep growing, you keep letting these counties that are engaging in fraud, they letting them get away with it, they'll never stop. They'll keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, in another election cycle or two, maybe you're not on top of the situation anymore. Maybe they managed to get the fraud to the point that they can flip certain statewide races.
Yeah, definitely. Last thing I want to ask you about is China. They seem to be making threats towards Taiwan. Biden is obviously completely clueless or he's controlled. It's hard to tell sometimes if he's happy about the disaster that's unfolding or if he's completely oblivious or something in between. But what do you see happening with China and Taiwan?
When a nation like China is under immense amounts of stress, financial stress, and they have disasters going on there. The dams have been cracking. There's things going on there. The real estate market that had I think it's called Evergrande, is going down. A couple of the big real estate, big parts of their market have tanked. They're a country that is, okay, they've been playing a shell game financially for a long time. And like Steve Bannon's been saying in the war room and others have been saying for a while, it's catching up to them. They can't keep the shell game. The shell game is not working anymore. The bills are coming due, and they're facing economic collapse. And when a country like China, a totalitarian dictatorship, is under that kind of stress, they tend to act out militarily. They tend to try to, show that they still have it, that they're not weak. It's been observed in history a lot. The more these types of countries come under stress, economic weakness, they try to flex where they can flex, and so that's why that's why they're making all these overtures on Taiwan. All of a sudden, usually it's all talk. Now they're doing things where they're encroaching in Taiwan's airspace. We recently found out there are American troops stationed on Taiwan. Even as Biden and the State Department keep making one gaffe after another, Biden says, we'll defend Taiwan. And then the Blinken State Department comes out and says, well, actually, we're ambiguous about that. We don't really come out and say if we're going to or not. We need to be ambiguous about this. And so
Yeah.
all this is going on. Yeah, Biden is definitely the wrong guy for this. He does not seem to have a clue what's going on. But I think that China, it will be surprised if it actually does make any real overt move to invade Taiwan. They're going to be in it for a surprise. Taiwan is not helpless. Taiwan has allies, some of whom are there and some of whom are very nearby. And people have a low estimate of Japanese military. They don't really understand Japanese military capability. They don't really comprehend Taiwanese military capability. There are steps that have been taken. People have this idea that Taiwan is just sitting there open and that China can come in there and take it at any time. The Chinese Navy is a joke.
Right.
There's my friend Adam Baldwin, the actor, had shared something with me a few years back. He said the U.S. Navy, this is what they call it. This is their joke about what happens if Taiwan sends all these fishing boats and tugboats disguised as military vessels, try to invade Taiwan. They call it the Million-Man Swim.
Right.
That's what will end up happening. Yeah, the Million-Man Swim.
Right. So, are you pretty optimistic about this planet? Like 6 months ahead, the COVID situation, the vaccine mandates, election fraud, all these crises the planet's facing, centered around the United States. How do you see these things progressing in the next 3 to 6 months, say?
I see the vaccine mandates are going nowhere. Okay, this is America. There's too many people who are just not going to comply. They say, okay, it's time for you to bring your child to the local vaccination center and have them vaccinated so they can go to school this year. I don't have a handful of kids show it. Parents with their kids will show it. And they're like, 75% of the kids will not be in the class. That's what's going to hit these people, that they made a very big mistake. There are a lot of people trying to paint it as bad as they can, All right, I'm an optimist, but I think a lot of people have a very warped and jaundiced view of their own country. They watch too much fake news media, they watch too much TV. And I had a thing back a couple of years ago when Glenn Beck was on Fox News, and he was always spinning doomsday scenarios. It was when he was back on his daily show on Fox News, using this whiteboard. And this is when the Jade Helm military exercises were going on in the American Southwest. And the black helicopters were seen in the sky. And all kinds of things were spun up about that. Alabama's about to declare martial law. American Southwest to come in and seize all guns. They're going to declare martial law. And I had friends and relatives that were really concerned about that, And nothing ever came of that. Nothing happened. And so I'm 57 years old. I've seen a lot, and I've learned that there's always people trying to make you think it's 10 times worse than it really is. They have an interest in getting you all stirred up. They do it for clicks, for views, sensationalism, whatever it is. Okay, and it's never as bad as they're telling you it is.
Yeah, I agree. And things are unfolding pretty quick, and there's a lot of room for optimism. We're seeing people push back against this nonsense. And like I said about 20 minutes ago, it's really starting to dawn on people that we didn't vote for a lot of these idiots that claim to have authority over us. And the American concept is government by the people, for the people, of the people. And what we're seeing in a lot of places, that's not it. It's very different from that concept. So people just like mocking and ridiculing. Most of these leaders cannot go outside anymore and walk down the street. They just can't. Right?
So your video's breaking up.
Oh, crap. So what I was saying was, like, most of these leaders, Joe Biden can't go into public with the genuine public and shake people's hands.
Oh, yeah.
Kamala Harris cannot. Trudeau in Canada can't. Macron in France cannot. It's dawning on people that...
I saw those videos of Trudeau trying to walk through neighborhoods of people and coming out and yelling at him. It was great.
Yeah. So after the election, as I was saying, in Canada, people were saying, I believe Trump now. The elections are rigged because I didn't vote for this guy. Nobody I know voted for this guy.
Yeah.
So, and
Biden can't go to a baseball game. Biden can't go to any sporting event.
That's right.
Meanwhile, Trump can go to the World Series game and do the tomahawk chop, and they all start chanting, "Let's go, Brandon!" And there's video of him just standing up there, laughing, doing stuff. Because it's true. Okay, he can go to any sporting event he wants. It's fine. If Joe Biden shows up at a football game or a baseball game, everybody knows what's going to happen. That's why he can't appear in those venues.
Mm-hmm. Brian, great talking to you. Let's reconnect soon. There's so much going on, especially with the Durham case investigation. And I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about in the days ahead. So
I look forward to it, Luke.